Hey, I'm Derek, it's me, Derek, and welcome to Stop Skeletons and Fighting. Welcome to the new set, a new set. This one's spookier than the last ones. We're just trying stuff out. Don't get spooked. It's still Uncle Derek. This is one of my favorite things. Not the game, though I love Resident Evil 4. And not this cover art, though it's pretty badass. And having the fact that, this game is actually called For Resident Evil. We actually gave Capcom a pass for titling this game For Resident Evil. And we all saw that, right? Why did that happen? Why did we allow that? Who is this for? Is it for Resident Evil, or is it a gift for Resident Evil fans? Now, what I really love is this little guy in the corner here that says, only for Nintendo GameCube. That is amazing, because Resident Evil 4 would go on to become one of the most ported games over the last 15 years, putting it in the company of Minecraft, Skyrim, and I guess GTA 5. I mean, Capcom even announced the PS2 version before the GameCube version was even out. This was never really even true. So Mr. Mikami, still waiting for that head of yours. The US Postal Service is being gutted right now, so send it express, please. There are no fewer than 6 versions of Resident Evil 4 ported to 15 systems, spanning 3, maybe 4 generations depending how you look at it. And that's counting both PC ports and various mobile ports separately. In fact, the OG Xbox is the only modern console that missed out on a Resident Evil 4 port. The game's ports combined have sold over 10 million copies, and now there's even rumors of a remake in the works, which is crazy. Resident Evil 4 just came out on Switch in 2019. They're still releasing this game, and I have every reason to believe that Capcom will dump it on the PlayStation 5 and Series X. This is Punching Weight, a celebration of the weird, ambitious, and unnecessary, and today I'm going ham sandwich on every copy of Resident Evil 4 I can get my hands on, plus a few others. And hey, it's also Spooky Month! Not that there's ever a bad time to talk about Resident Evil 4, but it's Spooky Month! It's the best time to talk about Resident Evil 4. So welcome! What are you watching? You watching this video? Welcome! Come back anytime. But first, this part of the video is sponsored by Skillshare. I love learning new things. Well, actually, I love conquering the frustration that comes from not knowing how to do things. I wanted to get back into making music. I really want to have a creative outlet for my stress that's not just petting my dog. So I built myself a piano bench and then turned to this beginner woodworking class from Brittany Janer. And once I get this bad boy finished and dried, I'm looking forward to learn how to mix music with Young Guru. If music's not your thing, there's tons of classes available on topics like productivity, illustrating, or even SEO. Skillshare costs less than $10 per month, but the first 1,000 people to click the link below in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium so you can explore your creativity. Check it out, and thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this part of the video. I still love you, Launchpad. Don't worry. Let's start at the beginning. January 2005, the GameCube. While this version is the thinnest package in terms of content, it is still a damn fine version. It's got really solid graphics, runs and controls like a dream. There's only slight instances of slowdown. Right from the start, Resident Evil 4 was one of the most polished video games ever made. And maybe I'm old-fashioned, but this game always felt best on a GameCube controller. Maybe the only bad thing about this one is the size of the screen, which has some black bars because it's like cinema or something. Resident Evil 4 had an insanely troubled development, which I went over a bit in a video I made a few years ago. And in a lot of ways, I think we should be grateful to Nintendo and the GameCube for making this game possible. Even though Capcom walked back on their exclusive 5-game deal with Nintendo, I'm sure they got a bit of scratch from that deal that could justify the 6-ish year development hell. Oh no. And compared to the PlayStation 2, the GameCube was the beefier boy. Not the beefiest boy, but respectably beefy. And I think that extra beef helped make this game as tight, revolutionary, and gorgeous as it needed to be. If you want to get technical though, there is another version on the GameCube, Resident Evil 4, the trial version. A bonus disc that came with pre-orders. Item management is more like classic Resident Evil, including equipping the knife, and some items were completely reworked. And overall, it's just not as tight and polished. It ends right at my favorite line in video game history.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
But the line reading is slightly different in this version.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Believe it or not, I got this trial version with my pre-order back in the day, and I was so unimpressed that I canceled my pre-order. I was like, nah man, Silent Hill 4, that's the future. I've been over this mistake before. I didn't even give Resident Evil 4 another go until like late 2005, maybe 2006, but I'm glad I hung on to this demo disc because I always get a kick out of playing early builds of games. And if you're a fan, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's really fun. The GameCube version came out in January 2005, and the PlayStation 2 version came out just 9 months later in October in North America. So okay, yes, fine. It was only on GameCube for a few months. And in a way, the PS2 version is the first true version of Resident Evil 4. Even though the visuals are a pretty substantial step down, Capcom came correct by giving the PS2 version a lot more content. The Separate Ways campaign for Ada, Leon's tuxedo costume and Ashley's armor costume, which prevents Ashley from being hurt or carried away, the PRL-412 laser cannon, which lets you one-shot enemies, and it's got progressive scan and true widescreen too. These would become part of the standard package from here on out, but they were made to make the PS2 port more enticing than the GameCube port. With all that said, there's another reason why I love this port. It looks terrible. The textures and lighting are way diminished, but it plays just as well, and that frame rate never falters, or never enough to bother my dumb butt. Listen, I am too dumb to care that much about graphics. When Uncle Derek wants to play a game, I don't want to worry about CRTs and upscalers and other what's-its. I just want to play the game, and as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the all-time great ports for how well it plays and how terrible it looks. And I will say this right now, this is not going to be the worst looking port we're going to be looking at, so cool it on the hate for the PS2 port. It gets the gameplay right and has all the bells and whistles, which at the end of the day is the most important. For the record, the PS2 port of Resident Evil 4 is the best-selling version, at least according to Capcom's numbers. The number 2 bestseller, and quite possibly the single best version, is on the Wii. To give you an idea how beloved Resident Evil 4 was even back then, this Wii port was released in 2007, 2.5 years after the GameCube original, and still sold 2 million copies. Most people must have double-dipped. Hell, I triple-dipped. And here's why. The Wii version offers all the bonus features from the PS2, the great graphics from the GameCube, but with the addition of motion controls. Some of the QTEs have been redone to incorporate waggle. Reloading is done with a waggle instead of a button press. One thing I really liked, if you are near a breakable object or enemy, a simple waggle makes Leon automatically lock on and swipe at the enemy. It makes saving ammo by knifing down enemies much easier. One major drawback though, there's no motion controls for the rifle. Zooming and aiming is done all on the nunchuck, which I felt made it way harder. But with nunchuck aiming, you can basically snipe with just a pistol. There we go. Red 9 all day, baby. And I mean, the combat in Resident Evil 4 is just so damn perfect. The ability to play with motion controls is amazing. This was the generation of the shoehorned motion controls, but not here, dude. Look at how easy it is to turn and aim at the same time. Now, most every action game that was inspired by Resident Evil 4 took the over-the-shoulder perspective, but added strafing. You cannot do that here. But being able to, say, turn to the right while aiming to the left makes Leon way more maneuverable. I've heard the argument that all this makes the game too easy, and I mean, that's fair. I mean, look at this, Headshot City, baby! But in my opinion, the action in Resident Evil 4 is so satisfying, it's maybe more enjoyable without any discernible challenge, but hey, that's just me. The Wii port still accommodates those who crave a challenge with the option to play with the classic controller or a GameCube controller. Though the GameCube controller compatibility is kind of hidden, go into the game, plug in your GameCube controller, unplug the nunchuck, and then boom, you are now playing an updated GameCube version. Of course, the Wii was many things, but it was not HD. Though with Wii component cables, you are given an extra boost, but it's still only 480p. Well, then there's the option of up-resing on a Wii U, but yeah, you're not getting full HD here. You're not getting 60 FPS. I don't know, that just ain't a deal breaker for me. This is still my go-to version when I'm itching for some Resident Evil 4. Let's move on from the Wii port, but we'll be coming back to it because almost every port since has kind of lived in its shadow. For example, the Ubisoft published PC port, which came out the same year, actually a few months before the Wii port. I'll give it credit. Look at thick Leon here. Look at this thick spine on Leon here. Wii, you got that normal svelte. You want that wide Leon. I guess you gotta go with this PC port. Look at that boy. Look at that boy. You can't compare that. It's like twice the size. That's twice the boy. I don't judge. This port has the distinct honor of being the lowest reviewed port of Resident Evil 4 at the time, and there's very good reason for that. Somehow in the development of this port, it was decided that there was no need for mouse support. That's right, all keyboard. Even that is just baffling. Like, the default setup has WASD as movement, right shift to pull out your firearm, left shift to pull out your knife, enter to shoot, and right control to run. It's actually not so bad, you kind of get used to it. However, the quick time events, they They need to be seen to be believed. Instead of keyboard buttons, it flashes numbers on the screen. Now, these are not the literal numbers on your keyboard, but the controller inputs. So I hope you can remember what 5 and 6 are. I died like 3 times at the first boulder on stream. It was embarrassing. We all had a good laugh. I didn't get all the way to the Krauser knife fight, but can you imagine? There's a link to the archive of my keyboard only playthrough in the description below if you want to see that train wreck. We all had a good time. It is extremely awkward, but the game does assume you'll be playing with the controller by default, so at least it supports that. And with the controller, it plays fine. I've even seen videos of people modding in Wii motion support for this version. But at the time, man, Wii controls were the hot shit, and not at least having mouse support basically made this port a joke. Beyond the controls, it has all the features from the other games, even including what looks like the crappy cinemas from the PS2 version. I don't know if that's actually true, but the graphics of the game look fine, and then cut to super compressed cutscenes. Like, what? What happened? And then when it cuts back, it's whiplash. My neck hurt playing this game. One exclusive though is that this is the first North American Resident Evil 4 to include the easy mode, previously Japan and PAL region only. This is kind of crazy to me because whole sections are just straight up missing in this version. A bunch of them, especially in the castle. Like for example, the clock tower, completely cut out. You can't even go up the stairs. Instead, the switch is just by the bridge. Just move on, forget it ever happened. And it's got a few other things you'd expect. You start with a shotgun. There are fewer enemies and more ammo stacks in your inventory. Like, I don't know if this is really a big deal to anyone else, but an entire different version of this campaign existed this whole time, and I never knew. I played through this whole thing at least 20 times, probably more. I would have absolutely loved to try something different. I found a really good video detailing a lot of these differences by YouTuber Araday. It's one of the few videos I've seen that actually covers this topic. There's a link below. I definitely recommend you checking it out. Now, just to be clear, this version is no longer available online. I actually had to buy a physical copy, and we were lucky that it included the required key from the instruction book. For all its shortcomings, at the end of the day, the 2007 PC version of Resident Evil 4, it's still Resident Evil 4. You can't really fault it too much. Plus, like all popular franchises that get ported into oblivion, things can get so much worse. And by the late 2000s, Resident Evil had been pretty lucky, at our expense of course. Resident Evil 1's ridiculous Game Boy Color port was cancelled. Resident Evil 2's Game Boy Advance port was only just a pitch that was never greenlit. There were a murder of little Java games, like way more than you'd think, but the series largely dodged the bullet. But finally, Resident Evil got that Garbo, ultra-compromised port it deserved. This time on iOS in 2009. That's right, Resident Evil 4 Mobile Edition for iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. For reference, the best iPhone on the market at the time was the 3. You'd think putting a game as ginormous as Resident Evil 4 on an iPhone that didn't even have native video recording yet would be a bad idea, and you'd be right. RE4 Mobile Edition looks like a PlayStation 1 demake, which is fitting because it was apparently originally developed for the Nokia N-Gage. We've got awful graphics, terrible animations, levels that are hardly recognizable. Look at this. This is supposed to be the ravine area in Chapter 1 too. We got PowerPoint presentation cutscenes. The campaign is separated into missions with objectives for winning. But here's the thing though, that low poly stuff, I think actually looks really creepy. Look at these heads popping off. I think that style is way creepier than the console version, which that should surprise no one. Look, the Krauser fight has QTEs. I don't know why, I just think that's really impressive. The iOS version dropped in 2009, and the Android version several years later, like after Resident Evil 6 had come out. But the best version was on the digital-only Brazilian console, the Zeebo. If you have ever wanted to appreciate this port on a TV with a controller, you had the option. The Zeebo is a fascinating console in its own right. It's extremely rare, and when one comes up, they retail for like $1,000 or so. I have set a Patreon goal, and if we hit it, I promise, hand on my heart, I will do everything in my power to make a video about the Zeebo. And if you are watching this, and know where I can get a Zeebo, hit me up. Because these ports have long since been delisted, I haven't been able to play any of them myself. I'm basically just going off of other people's YouTube videos, and it kills me inside. Only if you have systems with these games already downloaded to them can you play them. But That is it. It's probably a bit easier to get the 2013 Android version running, but thankfully there are plenty of playthroughs on YouTube, and I hope these videos stay up forever, because that is the widest available way to experience these games. This is my favorite kind of Garbo greatness, and one day I will get my hands on a version so I can test it out for myself. The next batch of Resident Evil 4 ports didn't come until 2011. The HD era was on us and Resident Evil 4 was debuting in its upscale glory. Honestly, the versions on Xbox 360 and PS3, and then later Xbox One and PS4, are mostly the same. Better textures, wide aspect ratio, more improved frame rate, but the achievements are kind of weak, and also there was no added support for stuff like Move or the Kinect, even though Resident Evil 5 would get PS Move support patched in later on. But most of all, there's no added content. I'm not asking for much here, but like, none of these versions have the PAL Easy or Japan Amateur modes. And like, why not, man? Like, new players could probably use an easier option, and old heads like me could use something different. What I can't understand is that this easy mode is in fact on the 2014 Ultimate HD Edition on PC right now. Yes, the two PC versions are the only ones that have an easy mode, at least here in North America. Oh, and if Capcom is looking for some already made exclusive content to add back in, I have another suggestion. Biohazard 4, aka the Japanese versions, all have an exclusive gameplay segment with Ashley that reverts back to old school static camera angles. Come on, Capcom, port that stuff over here, man. But of course, Capcom going Capcom. Of course, they didn't do hardly any effort with these. Hopefully they're using the extra profits to make that rumored remake extra special. I personally never felt the need to own any of these versions, plus I didn't want to go through the effort to unlock all the extra weapons and campaigns again, when I could just boot up an older version. Hey, it's still more Resident Evil 4, that has never been a bad thing, so they're still recommended. I'm fine sticking with my Wii port, and I know I'm not the only person that feels this way, but made an exception for the 2019 Switch port, baby.
Nice.
Don't judge me. There are dozens of us, probably. But even though I love having some RE4 on the go, it's still pretty upsetting that Capcom didn't go through the trouble of including any motion controls. Like, none of this, none of this, none of this. I'm trying to help Ashley, it's not helping at all. The Wii U got a direct emulation of the Wii game, and here's proof that I still have some level of self-restraint because I didn't buy this one either. But back to the Switch, I get that you can't do straight conversions from Wii to the Switch because the technology involved, it's different. But I do wish they had at least tried. Revelations Switch got some gyro support, as did Resident Evil 5 and 6. Yeah, REs 4, 5, and 6 are all bundled together on the Switch, but the game that had a Wii port with motion controls can't even get some gyro love? It's not all bad news, because you are able to dongle, what up dongle life, any GameCube controller to the Switch. And when I say any GameCube controller, I mean any GameCube controller, which means this version has chainsaw support. Hell yes. Also Donkey Konga support, very important. So where do I fall at the end of the day? I mean, y'all already know I reach for the Wii port when it's RE4 time. Though I like to pull out the PS2 version in a pinch, but really they're all good. I guess if you need just one, PC port has got easy mode, it's HD, it's got all the bells and whistles. That'll probably do you in a pinch.
Mods?
Oh, and mods. Yes, also PC port's got mods, yeah. And you can probably mod in your Wii support. But if you're too lazy for all the mod shit, yo, just get that Wii port. That Wii port's fine. Capcom has been on a streak lately. I think the Resident Evil franchise is maybe in the best hands it's been in since the very start. So I'm excited to see this next generation of Resident Evil 4, both in a ported sense and in a remake sense. That is, if Capcom is actually doing that. We all know deep down, Veronica needs the remake more. Anyway, if you want to learn more about the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controllers, yes, both of them, click the link here on the screen somewhere above my face. And if you want to learn a little more about the easy mode, check out this video from our day that's also somewhere around here. Stop Skeletons and Fighting is a Patreon supported show. We thank all of the people who support us over these years. And hey, their names are right here. You can join their ranks too. Get videos early, hang out on the supported Discord, support us if you can. If you can't, hey, tell a friend. When someone asks, what's your favorite YouTube channel? Tell them it's Stop Skeletons and Fighting. Tell them about Uncle Derek. And hey, wash your hands, wear a mask. We'll see you again real soon.